Namaste, Rajiv. Actually, I just want to know why many people like leftists or liberal or maybe wokies or whenever they're attacking or maybe appropriating some things, some thoughts, they picturize themselves as Buddhists or maybe followers of Buddha, Gautam Buddha, Buddhism. I just want to know your opinion on why they take that.
Okay, great question. Why do so many people who got so much out of Hindu thought, Vedic thought, when they U-turn, they sometimes they go back as Christians or Jews, but sometimes they become Buddhists, and while they're taking our idea only, a Vedic idea. Okay. And why is it safer to be a Buddhist? You won't be attacked as much. Some of them do it for that reason. Okay. So they're taking the whole Yoga Sutra and calling it a Buddhist, things like that, you know. Now, it's a very fascinating situation. I have thought about this quite a lot. There are many answers, many parts to it, and I'm glad you're raising these. You guys are raising extremely thought-provoking questions, and I'm so glad I came because you're smart guys, and I always like this. So, Buddha is less threatening. Buddhism is less threatening because you do not have the deity. Because Buddha is not so much talking about God and divine, talking about self-realization. You can actualize yourself in state of nirvana, and that nirvana is not unity with some God or Brahman. Okay, they don't have the concept of Brahman as the ultimate. So therefore it is less threatening because you can take this kind of a Buddhist idea and fit it into the Christian God, Judeo-Christian God. You can say God is ours, so we are protected, but all this meditation from you and all this, transcending the soul, self and all that we can learn from you. But ultimately, instead of the nirvana, we have the salvation. So we can copy, paste and make you fit. But the Hindu, you can't, because you've got to bring in all these deities and so many avatars, and you have a goddess, and oh my God, you got Kali also. So this kind of a thing, they're very terrified. So the Hindu deity, with all the huge ideas of deity manifest everywhere and all that, is so scary. It's so scary to them, they cannot reconcile this. They have to break the Hindus' idea into different compartments and say, I'll pick this and digest it, I'll reject that, I'll pick this and distort it. So they have to do this cut and paste with us. Buddhism is easier to metaphysically accommodate within Christianity and Judaism, and it brings so much wealth, so much treasure it brings. And that is one reason. Second reason is, Dalai Lama gets a lot of credit that when the Hindu gurus were very prominent in the 60s and 70s, and I was into that, all that, they would not convert people and say, you are now a Hindu. Very few would. Okay, ISKCON did and all that. They would say, take it and you remain who you are and just chant something and breathe and you will be fine. So we did not create a Sangha. We did not create the loyalty. But the Dalai Lama initiated lakhs of white Americans into Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism. So he told them to go and become professors and teach Buddhism in the universities. So every university's got a lot of practicing Buddhists. They protect. And they are all disciples of Buddhism or some, particular lineage, So there have been prominent Buddhists, from Myanmar and Thailand and, of course, Tibet, and Japanese also, that have done a great service to their tradition at a time when Hindus were more in vogue than the Buddhists, but Hindus did not create a permanent Sangha of identity transfer, shift the identity, because the idea was that we are so great and you can take it and keep your identity. You don't have to, you can just do the yoga, you can do this bhakti, but remain whoever you are. Not realizing that guy is you're putting him in an unstable equilibrium. You're putting him in an inner conflict. Because our gurus didn't do enough purva paksha of where he's coming from. And you cannot just keep teaching him without emptying out and removing some of what he's already got. You have to clean up some of the person's inner metaphysics and then replace it with something new. You have to do that because there are incompatibilities, like we were talked about. So if you were to empty out, this requires what they call conversion, because conversion is a purpose, because you cannot be half this and half that. You cannot. You have to have an integral unity of your worldview. And if you have an integral unified worldview within, then there are certain things that don't belong. It is not that everything is true. There are false things also. It is not that everything is dharma, there is adharma also. Otherwise, why would they have so many arguments against opponents, and why would you have a Mahabharata to fight adharma? This business that everything is true only is complete nonsense. So our gurus were very confused about these matters. They were not confident. They created sanghas, but in these sanghas, they did not create a sense of identity. Now the Westerner needs to belong with other fellow travelers in the same identity and feel collective. That is because they have a collective religion. The Judaism is about tribes that are, together for a long time. Christianity is not about tribes, but Christianity is about we've all been converted, we are part of this church or that church, and this gives them a cohesive identity. And that cohesive identity means we look after each other, we are there for each other, we have shared values, and we have a name for it, and we are loyal to it. It is more like a panth. It is more like a particular panth that we have. So we did not do that to the Westerners, what would have made them feel emotionally at home and less vulnerable, less fragile, and less vulnerable to U-turn. Now, U-turn happens because the guy's got all this stuff you've taught him, but his old identity is still there. And deep down, there's irreconcilable differences. We've talked a whole lot of U-turn books and coming to explain these. What are the irreconcilable differences? At some point, that becomes so serious that, things fall apart. And now what is he going to do? So then he goes back to original thing, his earlier identity, rejects all this and abuses it and says, oh, no, I was brainwashed, I don't believe in all this, they've made a fool out of me and they are bad, this, that. He has to make peace with his original identity by discarding, rejecting what he learned from us. This U-turn is not happening as much with Buddhism because Buddhism created its own space and made all these people feel very confident and together as white Buddhist people. This our gurus did not do.